Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and back to another Eurofighter Typhoon reaction video from a real world Typhoon engineer. Now my background is about 7.5 years as a Typhoon avionics engineer, both in the UK and overseas, and I've since moved out of that role into more of a development side of the aircraft. But somebody in the last video asked me to do a reaction video on the DOS EF2000 game. So I think that was from 1995. So God, I wasn't very old at that point at all. Just to make all you guys out there feel a bit older. So let's have a look. I never played this game. I didn't even know it existed actually until someone left it in the comments. I know there was another Eurofighter Typhoon game further on later on. I think it was the early 2000s, which I remember playing. So I'll do a reaction video to that one as well. So let's have a look and see what this one's all about. Gotta love the old school sort of music there, haven't you? Air Dominance Project. Okay. Now this is the reloaded trailer, so we'll see what it's like. EF2000. Oof, look at those graphics. Interesting that Typhoon's there has got US markings on it. Whoa, it must be windy because you see there the foreplanes are flapping like mad. I'm not expecting that they modelled weather too much in this, but interesting to see. To request permission to engage. Oof, look at that. Now, interesting here, it's actually not a bad representation, I suppose, given the time frame as well. 1995, you know, what it looks like on the right side looks like the DAS format. As you see there, it's got all the different options, and it does look, they are quite good actually. The MHDDs, sorry, on the left, right, and centre, they all do have different functionalities to them. It's not just copy and pasted, which is quite nice to see. Not every simulation does that, to be fair. A lot of people think that you can just, every display is the same, and they're not. The three displays are completely separate in terms of what they can display. I can't have two DAS formats shown, for example, one on the right and one on the left. I can only have it on one screen. Now that could be on the left or right, but it can only ever be displayed one at a time. So it's interesting to see that. The center display there's got the map on it. Again, it's not too bad again for the time. Looks pretty good. And then the left, some sort of radar display there. It's not too bad. Interesting that they throttle and stickers shown there. Stick I could understand, but throttle looks a bit too central for my liking. But yeah, it's not too bad there. You can sort of get the gist of what they're actually trying to display to you, I suppose. You've still got all the options there on the left-hand glare shield. It's hard to understand what they actually refer to without, you know, deep diving into a manual or something like that. Also, you can see some there, engines. Interesting. And it also looks like we've got some sort of HMD or HMSS in Typhoon speak, which is interesting. Again, pretty good for the time, I suppose. Let's keep going. There's got to be some hostiles out here, surely, somewhere. There we go. Now, interesting that you can actually see the hostiles boxed there. Now, I'm not quite sure what it means or what they were trying to imply if it's a dashed box, maybe that they've not got them locked up. But it's interesting that they can pick them up there. And it's quite good, actually, that the information that's being presented to the user there is quite... It's sort of semi-realistic. Obviously, again, given the time frame, it's interesting to see. I keep saying interesting, and it's not that interesting really, but symbology is quite good, actually. I mean, I don't really know what the sort of demonstrator capabilities were at the time in 1995 in terms of what was out there for the public or for developers to use as reference, but it's not too bad. It's quite impressive for the time. And I sort of see, you can see aircraft there. The hostile's boxed, and he's got the diamond rather than just the box, the square, I should say. So obviously he's got that aircraft locked up, I assume. He got some other information there, ECM. I don't know whether that means he's jamming the other aircraft or he's being jammed. I assume it means he's jamming the other aircraft, as in the hostile. Sort of see some weapons information there, ASRAM, I think that is 3 there on the bottom left of the HMSS. Interesting. God, stop saying interesting. It's not. R and F. I'm not quite sure what that would relate to. F could be flare, but that's 904 flares. I don't believe that for a second. Yeah, not too sure what that is. If you guys know what any of this symbology is that I'm referring to, let me know down below. But you can sort of see the gist of it's there, of what they're trying to represent. Yeah, you get the information there to say that, look, the target's not there, but it's to your right, so pan to the right, you'll see it. Sort of thing. The hostiles to the right of you. Interesting, yeah. Now that's the same. That number there is the same as that. So I wonder if that's like closure speed or range from it. Oh, that might be range actually. R for range. Splash one there. So you can sort of see there's the sort of a little bit of the foundation there for what you can do in DCS at the minute. You know, you can control, by the looks of it, with your sort of radio menu. You know, formations and all that sort of stuff. Oh, bit of air refueling. It's pretty cool. I mean, just look at those graphics. Hard to believe that at some point that was a peak. Now that is stop saying interesting. That is pretty cool. Now, obviously the basket just snapped there, so by today's standards it's pretty poor. But there are other simulators out there, and you probably all know which one I'm referring to. It's not a combat sim, but if you have a tanker setup, which you can do, you can't snap the basket to the probe. Even in the older versions, you couldn't do that. You know, with military simulated parts in that sim, you couldn't do that. But they could do it back in 1995. Sort of makes you laugh a little bit, but at least DCS it sort of snaps a little bit. Obviously, doesn't look like there's any sort of physics to the basket, but you know, again, I think it's asking too much of the time. But pretty cool. Now I can see we've got some weapons on there. Looks like some sort of rocket, might be like a Mantrapod maybe. What's that, Maverick? And that might be GBUs of some sort. Box, what's that? Is that a guide box telling you where to go? Cannon. I'm assuming that can is cannon. 1,760 rounds. Again, that's a lot. Maybe that, I don't know if that is cannon. Again, if you guys know down below, let me know. Obviously, we've got a time there to get to a certain point. Clock's ticking. Again, the symbol to say, you know, you're not in parameters effectively for whatever you want to do. Too low. It's pretty cool actually for the time. Obviously, compared to what we have now, it's poor, but again, it's not too bad. Oh, hostile there. Oh, multiple targets. See, and again, there are some simulations out there of a Typhoon, and you don't get this information in the HUD or, you know, in the HMSS. You know, different targets, they have a different letter abbreviation associated to them. Usually the aircraft will determine which target out there it deems to be the most, or have the highest priority, and it'll assign the the corresponding value. So A will always be the top priority, B, C, and so on. So it's interesting that that's interesting. It's pretty cool that they can do that. That they did that back then. As I said, there's some simulations out there today in other simulators that don't do that, and we're talking like over 20 years in difference between the two. What's that? SU-27, SU-30, something like that. You know, it's got the red star, so we know it's not friendly. Oof. And that's pretty funny that they've used the MIDS display panel there to superimpose the image of the hostile. Yeah, pretty cool though. Going locked. Again, it's the music in it as well. It's proper 90s. Oh, got some helper gates there for the landing. To be honest, I could use some of those sometimes for some aircraft, honestly. Quite good there. You can see the air brake pops in and out there. That sort of I don't know, upside down U we'll call it. It's just a symbology for the pilot, so he knows that his air brake's out. Oh, those lights look all white to me. That's pretty cool, I've got to say. Again, thinking back to the time of when it was probably made. Really, really cool actually. Better than I thought it would be. Yeah, never had a go at it myself, 'cause like I said, I was probably a bit too young at that time. But what do you guys think? If you guys played it, what did you think of it at the time? Was it fun? Was it good enough? Do you think what we have today in terms of Typhoon replication is as good? I think there's some aspects on there that are actually better than what we've got today, certainly in other simulators. But obviously the visual fidelity is poor, but again, at the time it was peak. Yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts, how many hours you logged in and all that sort of stuff. Let me know. As always, thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, it really helps us out. And until next time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.